In June 1912, Villisca, Iowa, a quiet town of about 2,000, hummed with the simple rhythms of summer. Families tended gardens, children darted through dusty streets, and lanterns cast a warm glow over porches as neighbors shared stories. But the night of June 9th to 10th would plunge this peaceful community into darkness, marking one of America's most haunting unsolved crimes. The Moore family home at 508 East 2nd Street, a modest two-story haven, became the stage for a tragedy that shocked Villisca and lingers as a chilling mystery over a century later. Josiah B. Moore, 43, was a respected businessman who ran a thriving John Deere dealership, having built his success after leaving a rival's employ. His wife, Sarah Montgomery Moore, 39, was a pillar of the Presbyterian Church, organizing community events with warmth and care. They raised 4 children: Herman Montgomery, 11, an adventurous boy fond of the outdoors; Mary Catherine, 10, who loved assisting her mother; Arthur Boyd, 7, nicknamed Boyd, a playful spirit; and Paul Vernon, 5, the family's cherubic youngest. The Moores were affluent, well-liked, and free of known enemies, their home a symbol of small-town stability. On Sunday, June 9th, the town gathered for the annual Children's Day program at the Presbyterian Church, a joyful event coordinated by Sarah. Filled with songs, recitations, and children's performances, it was a highlight of Villisca's calendar. Mary Catherine invited 2 friends, Ina Mae Stillinger, 8, and Lena Gertrude Stillinger, 12, daughters of a local farmer, to join the festivities and stay for a sleepover. Ina was bubbly, Lena more reserved but thrilled. The program ran from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., alive with laughter and applause. The Moores and Stillingers walked 3 blocks home, arriving around 9:45 p.m. After some playful chatter, the children settled into bed by 10:30 p.m. The Stillingers in the downstairs guest bedroom, the Moore children in 2 upstairs rooms, and Josiah and Sarah in their master bedroom. The house fell silent, its doors unlocked, as was customary in trusting Villisca. Unseen by the sleeping family, an intruder had already entered their world. Investigators later found 2 cigarette butts in the attic, suggesting the killer hid there for hours, perhaps watching through floorboard cracks. A strange imprint in the hay of a nearby barn hinted at earlier surveillance, the killer studying the family's routines. Armed with Josiah's own axe from the coal shed, a heavy, double-blade tool, the intruder struck between midnight and 5 a.m., when the town lay in darkness. The attack was chillingly methodical, executed with a mix of precision and fury. Entering through an unlocked door or window, the killer adjusted an oil lamp's wick to a faint glow, just enough to navigate the silent house. The assault began in the master bedroom upstairs. Josiah was targeted first, struck over 30 times with the blunt end of the axe, primarily to the head, his skull fractured like an eggshell. He collapsed near the bedpost, one arm outstretched as if reaching for help. Sarah was next, struck 18 times with the axe's sharp blade, blows landing on her head, sides, and back. Her body lay partially off the bed, one hand raised in a futile attempt to shield herself. The killer moved to the children's rooms with eerie calm. Herman, 11, was found on his side, struck 7 to 10 times across his head and shoulders, his skull shattered. Mary Catherine, 10, lay curled in a fetal position, hit 8 to 12 times on her head and upper torso, the force leaving her pillow soaked. Arthur Boyd, 7, suffered 6 to 8 blows, mostly to his head, his small body slumped in bed. Paul Vernon, 5, was partially under his covers, clutching a blanket, struck 5 to 6 times on his head and back, each blow devastating. The killer returned to the master bedroom, delivering additional strikes to Josiah and Sarah, dislodging a shoe that collected blood, a sign of unrelenting rage. Descending the stairs, the intruder entered the guest bedroom where the Stillinger sisters slept. Ina Mae, 8, was on her stomach, struck 5 to 7 times, mainly to the back of her head and neck, her body still as if asleep. Lena Gertrude, 12, lay on her back under a quilt, hit 8 to 10 times across her head, face, and arms. A mark on Lena's arm suggested she awoke and tried to defend herself, but the effort was futile. Disturbingly, her body showed signs of being adjusted post-mortem, though autopsies found no evidence of further violation, a detail investigators noted with care to avoid speculation. The scene was one of profound tragedy, with signs of a ritualistic touch. Every mirror and window was covered with clothing or blankets, as if the killer feared reflections or sought to hide the act. A 4-pound slab of bacon from the icebox leaned against the bloodied axe in the guest room, near a plate of uneaten food and a basin of water where the killer had washed. Valuables: Josiah's wallet, Sarah's jewelry remained untouched, ruling out theft. Some doors were locked from the inside, others left ajar, suggesting familiarity with the house or meticulous planning. The axe, left near the guest room, stood as a grim testament to the night's horror. On June 10, the Moore house was unnaturally quiet. Neighbor Mary Peckham, accustomed to the family's early morning activity, grew uneasy by 7 a.m. when no one stirred. After knocking and tending the chickens herself, she called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore. Entering around 8 a.m., Ross glimpsed the Stillinger sisters in the guest bedroom and recoiled, alerting Marshal Henry Hank Horton. Horton confirmed the loss of all 8 residents, a devastating blow to the town. News spread via the telephone exchange, drawing hundreds of curious residents who entered the house, taking souvenirs like cloth fragments before authorities could act. By 10:30 a.m., the National Guard secured the scene, but the damage was done. The investigation, led by Marshal Horton and Montgomery County Sheriff John Henry, faced immense challenges due to 1912's forensic limitations. No fingerprints were collected, as the technique was not yet standard in rural Iowa. Bloodhounds, brought from a neighboring county, followed a scent to the Nottoway River, half a mile away, but lost it in the muddy banks, suggesting the killer may have fled by foot or train. The coroner, Dr. F.S. Williams, conducted autopsies in a makeshift morgue at the fire station, estimating death between midnight and 2 a.m. A June 11 inquest called 13 witnesses, including neighbors and family, but yielded no breakthroughs. Investigators noted a dimmed lamp upstairs, a keychain fragment not belonging to the Moores, and blood spatter patterns indicating a left-handed killer wielding the axe with force. The crime scene was mishandled. Hundreds of townsfolk trampled through, taking items like a piece of Josiah's skull, rendering physical evidence unreliable. The Burns Detective Agency, hired by the state, pursued leads for years, focusing on similarities to axe murders in Colorado Springs, 1911, Paola, Kansas, 1912, and Ellsworth, Kansas, 1912, suggesting a transient killer riding the rails. Theories of sedatives in the family's evening milk or cocoa were explored but untestable due to limited toxicology. Suspects emerged quickly, each with compelling but inconclusive ties. Frank F. Jones, a wealthy state senator and Josiah's former employer, was a prime focus. Josiah had outperformed Jones's implement business, costing him clients, and unproven rumors swirled of an affair between Josiah and Jones's daughter-in-law, Donna. The Burns Agency investigated Jones for hiring an assassin, possibly William Blackie Mansfield, but no evidence linked him directly. Jones, a powerful figure, remained untried, living in Villisca until his death in 1926, though public suspicion lingered. Mansfield, a drifter and cocaine addict, was arrested in 1916 in Kansas City. Linked to similar axe murders, his payroll records placed him elsewhere, though discrepancies raised doubts. Released for lack of evidence, he faded from records, possibly continuing his transient life. Henry Lee Moore, no relation to Josiah, a convicted serial killer, murdered his family with an axe in Missouri months later. His pattern of targeting entire households matched Villisca, but no physical evidence connected him. He was imprisoned for his later crimes and died in obscurity. Reverend Lynn George Kelly, a traveling minister with a history of mental instability and petty crimes like theft and harassment, was in Villisca for Children's Day. Small and eccentric, he left at 5 a.m. on June 10, telling train passengers of 8 dead souls murdered in their beds. He later sent obsessive letters to investigators, detailing the crime, but claimed coercion. Tried in 1917, the first trial ended in a hung jury, 11-1 for conviction. The second acquitted him due to weak evidence and his frail demeanor. Kelly lived out his days in mental institutions, dying in 1929. Other suspects, like transient Andrew Sawyer, who carried an axe and fixated on the case, were investigated and cleared. Villisca was forever changed. Funerals drew thousands, fear locked doors and armed residents. The Moore House, later the Villisca Axe Murder House Museum, now draws visitors reporting flickering lights, cold drafts, or faint voices, featured in shows like Ghost Adventures. These accounts, though unproven, fuel the case's haunting legacy. The Villisca Axe murders remain unsolved, defined by their meticulous cruelty and unanswered questions. The precise blows Josiah over 30, Sarah 18, the children 5 to 12 covered mirrors, and untouched valuables suggest a personal or disturbed motive. Who wielded the axe, and why? The Moore family and their guests, lost in a single night, left a legacy of mystery, their story whispering through Villisca streets, challenging us to uncover the truth. What do you think happened that night? Who do you suspect, and why? Share your theories in the comments below.